To create our Van Gogh inspired landscape paintings, first we need to start with drawing a landscape. A landscape is a piece of art that shows scenery of like a piece of land. It could be ocean, mountains, anything like that. I'm going to show two different landscape paintings. And yours does not have to match mine. It could be unique, or you could copy mine. I'm going to start with a horizon line. A horizon line is what separates the sky from the land. Then in mine, I'm going to add some mountains in the background. I'm also going to add a sun. The sun's just going to be a circle on one side of my paper. Next, I'm going to add some details in the foreground. That's this area. I am going to first draw a path. The path would be small in the background and then larger as it comes towards us. Small in the background, larger as it comes towards us, just like that. Then I'm also going to add a couple more details. In a lot of Van Gogh's art, he included these trees called cypress trees. Cypress trees are kind of long, curvy pine trees that you'll see a lot in Europe. So I'm adding the silhouette of two big cypress trees right in front. I also want to add something over here. I think I'm going to add a little cottage. So to start my cottage, I'm going to actually start with the roof shape. I want it to look kind of 3D. So I'm doing an upside down V. That's going to show the roof of my cottage. The top of my cottage will come from the point. We'll do a horizontal line. The other side of that roof is going to match this line. So I'll draw that and end it with a straight line. There's the other side of my roof. And then I'm finishing the house just like that. If you want to add more details, you could. I think I want to add a little chimney with some smoke coming out of it. I like the way that this kind of adds a cozy feel to my art. You could add some other details to this too, or you could just keep it plain. This path that I drew, if you want in your landscape, that path could also be a river. That's up to you. I'm not going to add a bunch of tiny little details to this because we are going to be using thicker paint, and I'm going to add more details like on top of the paint when I add oil pastels later. So just adding maybe a little window there. Anyway, I think that's going to be good for now. Now I'll show you a second way to do a landscape. This one I'm going to do with my paper horizontally. I'm starting with the same idea as before, a horizon line to split my paper in two. This time I'm going to have my path coming from the middle of my paper. I'm also going to add some more round hills or rolling hills. The sun in the middle. And I'm going to add some trees in this painting too. So my two landscapes were pretty similar, with some small changes. You can create your own landscape, but remember, keep it pretty simple. Next up, we'll be doing painting. For our painting, you'll be sharing, or probably be sharing, a paint palette with your table partners. I mixed up some paints for us. If you want to mix your own colors, grab a paper plate so you can mix them on the plate. I am going to paint each section, sun, sky, mountains, path, and trees, each one color. Again, you're not adding a ton of detail on this because we will go back and add detail later when our paint dries. I'll put this on fast mode so you can see how it turns out. Before we move on to next steps, I just want to point out a couple things about the painting. First of all, when we look at Van Gogh's paintings, he may create landscapes and portraits and still lifes that are of real places and real people and real things, but the way that he painted them wasn't always realistic. A lot of times he used really bright colors or maybe colors that weren't really found in nature. Like for example, you could have a purple sky or a red sky. You could have orange grass. Like the colors that are in Van Gogh's paintings don't have to be realistic. Also, he used his own style. In his style, he did a lot of things like swirls in the sky to kind of show movement in clouds and stars in the sky. So keep that in mind as you do your paintings. It does not have to look realistic. Include swirls. I also wanted to add some things like highlights and shadows in my art. So in my mountains, I wanted to make them look more three-dimensional. So on one side of each mountain, I added a darker shade of blue to create shadow. On the opposite side, I used white to create a highlight. I also added some white to my trees to create a highlight there. Notice that the highlight on my mountains and the highlight on my trees are all on the right side of my painting. That would be like if the sun was shining this way. The shadows are all on the left side. Small details like that can help make your painting look more realistic and more three-dimensional. Next, we'll let this dry and move on to adding detail with our oil pastels.